Welcome to the Challenging the Way We Age podcast, hosted by the Mavericks of Senior Living, Francis and Catherine, focusing on creativity, ingenuity, and inspiration to educate and inspire changes in the senior experience, breaking the status quo and creating hope for the way we age. We want to thank our title sponsor during Denver Startup Week 2019, iAging. We want to thank our supporters, Assured Assisted Living, Serenity App, Sevens Home Care, Sevens Residential Memory Care, and Workability Co-working Space. Now get ready for the next episode.
Good afternoon, you Mavericks. It's Francis Lagasse, your Chief Curiosity Maverick, and I'm here at Workability for the Denver Startup Week, and we have a fantastic guest with us today, Mr. Steve Ewell, from the Consumer Technology Association Foundation. He is the Executive Director. Mr. Ewell, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here at Denver Startup Week and to have an opportunity to talk to you.
That's awesome. What brought you out here from the Virginia area?
Sure. Our foundation is a charitable foundation that's affiliated with the Consumer Technology Association. They are a trade association that represents over 2,000 technology companies.
Oh, wow.
But probably best known for running CES, which is a little show in Las Vegas every January,
yes.
Where we have, technologies from across the spectrum,
okay.
Everything from the largest global brands to a lot of startup companies and everything in between. Our foundation, though, is specifically focused on how does technology help older adults and people with disabilities. We're now about 7 years into the foundation.
Wow. Okay.
We're continuing to grow the work that we can do.
That's awesome.
Still scratching the surface of the opportunities, but we see more to come.
Now, I think you picked a very good industry that is ripe for disruption.
I'm out here at Denver Startup Week because there's so much conversation going on about the aging space and about the technology space that I see this as a great opportunity to engage, learn about what's going on here in the Denver community, and hopefully help take that to our work across the country.
Well, it's fantastic. It's exactly what our mantra is challenging the way we age. So I think there's a lot of similarity between what you guys want to do and what we believe we need to have discussions on. So I think this is really important to have a discussion about the tech that's out there to help us age, right? So what do you think some of the biggest things that you're seeing right now with respect to technology and the disabled or the elderly?
Sure. There's a number of different, right now it's such a wide open space, and there's so much opportunity for innovation because, as you know, I won't say we've cracked all the solutions quite yet,
right.
But there's a lot of interesting work going on.
Yes.
So some of the projects that we've funded has been everything from pilot projects around smart home technology and looking at video doorbells and lighting systems and the various voice control systems.
Right.
There's a lot of interesting opportunity there for consumers in the home to use that to age independently in place. It also ties in with some of the caregivers as well.
Yes.
We're also looking at some of those solutions into care communities where there's opportunities for those sorts of technology. So we're seeing a lot there. We're seeing a lot of interesting work in the hearable space now. Quite frankly, obviously there's a large percentage of the population that has hearing loss. Where are there opportunities for innovation in that space? Whether looking at more affordable solutions, whether looking at more comfortable, user-friendly solutions, especially for the more mild to moderate end of hearing loss. Right. And I think we're seeing a lot of potential innovation in that space coming up in the coming years. But then, quite frankly, we've been involved with everything from a self-driving vehicle. We crowdsourced ideas for what would an accessible self-driving vehicle look like.
So you crowdsourced that. Can you tell a little bit more about kind of what do you mean by crowdsourcing?
So we went out, we partnered with IBM and a smaller automotive company called Local Motors. They actually 3D print all their vehicles. And so they had the design.
3D? Wow, okay.
Exactly. A giant 3D printer.
Okay.
And they had the idea of creating this small passenger bus, essentially, that could be used for older adults. So what we did is we worked with groups like ARP, Front Porch Senior Services, and met with a number of their communities. We met with a number of communities around the country and just asked, okay, if you were to have your ideal experience on a vehicle, what would you be looking for? And, what are some of those challenges? So there's some really interesting efforts going on there.
That could have profound effect everywhere. I mean, because I know one of the biggest issues for most of our seniors is transportation.
Yep.
That they might want to leave their home, but they're either concerned, they're scared, or they think they need their loved one with them to go out.
And that's kind of what we're looking at. A lot of what we're trying to do is looking at that social isolation aspect, and whether it is transportation, because obviously getting to the medical appointment is important, and that's a major piece of everything we're going to be doing. But quite frankly, I want someone to be able to get out and go to the movies, go to dinner. It's all the other pieces of life that just because you're not able to drive anymore shouldn't be limited.
Or cost prohibitive, right? Because right now, I mean, Uber is great, but if you're on a fixed income, you could think it's expensive, or Lyft. So
we see more opportunities for other ways to address this, and whether it is a simple commuter bus that goes around a community and essentially takes people from one place to the other, or a downtown area, to kind of broader transportation.
Could that even help with facilities that are struggling staffing? So you kind of reduce that need for a bus driver per se, or a person on that bus potentially?
There may be some opportunities to do that, and that's one of the things that it's interesting as we've looked at all the various solutions, whether it is the smart home sensors in group facilities or these transportation solutions. When I talk to communities, and I'm always like, oh, are you gonna suddenly have to give up a number of your staff members because you're going to have these technologies? The answer is always no. They have a hard enough time just finding staff. So, it is all about trying to augment the staff that they have, grow, prevent burnout. And so, we see some real opportunities just to help with the staffing that's available there.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, is that to stress is I don't think anybody's trying to replace people. They're trying to augment and supplement and give them more tools to be successful, right? It's not this idea that we're going to get rid of people. It's this idea that we want them to be able to do their job better, and maybe not have those caregivers that just say, I'm done.
And you're right. Technology is a tool, and I'm speaking as a major tech geek who loves technology. But technology is the tool. It's not going to replace that caregiver, but it's something that can help them. Whether it is a family caregiver, whether it is a professional caregiver, there's just not enough caregivers for, especially as the demographics continue the trend that they're going towards. So we really see how can we best help in this space.
What do you think is the biggest challenge? Do you think is it a financial challenge? Is it our comfort with technology as we age?
Comfort with technology always comes up, and it is an issue. But one of the first meetings I had when I started this job, I was out, I think I was in California, but I was somewhere where I was meeting with a group of older adults, and one of them came up to me and he's like, I just want you to remember one thing.
Oh boy.
I built all the technology that all of today's technology is based on, so I know what I'm doing with technology. So you always just have to understand that there's extremes through every population. It's hard to really say this one trend represents a larger population. So there's I've had the opportunity to meet 100-plus-year-olds who are early adopters of technology, and I've met some 20-30 somethings who are not adopters of technology. But certainly we have to be aware of the trends. A lot of the programs we funded are around technology education programs. So say you have a skill and you're interested in just bringing in a little bit of extra income in your retirement. One of the programs we supported is called Older Adults Technology Services, and they run the Senior Planet Centers.
Senior Planet.
One that's just about to open here in Denver. But working with the one in New York, they had one participant who recently just paid for her entire family to take a cruise based on her greeting card business that she built out of Senior Planet. So looking at how can technology enable those sorts of opportunities as well. That's why it's really hard to say, okay, here is the one thing technology can do, because there's quite frankly a lot of opportunities.
Well, it almost sounds too, especially with that young woman you're just mentioning, she made her second career, or her third career even, right? Just because she was empowered. So, it's almost like you're giving a large group the ability to do more, that obviously want to do more. They just might not have the resources or know where to go. So it's almost like you're spreading a positive message of, hey, just because you're in your 60s or 70s, that doesn't mean you can't reinvent X, Y, or Z.
Yep. And in fact, I think, and of course, I should never quote a stat on a podcast without having it in front of me, but I believe the most successful entrepreneurs are 45 plus when you look at it.
And I think we're seeing the growing trend of women over 50 being very successful, as entrepreneurs now.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be interesting then. So basically this tech is not just it's going to have a ripple effect.
It can impact all areas of people's lives. So certainly we're looking at health and healthcare. Mm-hmm. How can we be well, be nutritious, be active, those sorts of activities, and that is always going to be a major part of the aging conversation. Yeah. But where can we go beyond that? And it's work, it's fun, it's transportation, it is doing things with your family. So really looking at where those opportunities are across the spectrum, mm-hmm. and whether it is fairly existing tech, things that you can do through your television, things that you can do through various other home-based technologies, to the wearable types of technologies, and getting into those spaces.
What do you think? Where's the biggest opportunity? I mean, or is it almost too hard to define that?
There are opportunities across the spectrum here. Okay. So, I do think that there's a lot of opportunity around caregiving. So how do we both take care of older adults, but also take care of the caregivers, get them the information that they need mm-hmm. to do that caregiving, but also look at it from a privacy perspective of where are the opportunities, how can we get the information we need, but also make sure people don't feel like they're on a reality TV show 24/7. Also looking at other types of innovations. I'm really interested in various, communication type technologies.
I would love, yes.
So, one of the things, obviously we're tied to a big trade show, and we have people from all over the world coming there, trying to communicate. There's a lot of noise as people are walking around. We have captions in all the sessions, so if someone can't hear the speaker, they can kind of read what's going on through the cart captioning. I would love to see more innovation in the space that is doing that captioning. And there are some companies that are doing some interesting work in this space, and then I've seen some of them that take it a step farther and start to build in translation solutions into that. Ooh. So all of a sudden, when you're traveling the world and you could suddenly communicate with the person at the front desk or in the restaurant, ask directions, and be able to do it in a fairly efficient manner, I see some really interesting opportunities there.
Well, going off of that, then, I'm going to get a little geeky, would you be kind of more pro or against like a Google Glass type technology? Stuff like that where you might be able to, scroll the text on your eyeglasses. What are your thoughts on something like that?
It's interesting. The Google Glass has definitely got a bit of a reputation.
They do.
But actually, I see some interesting opportunities in that space, especially as we're working with people with cognitive decline or dementia.
You're right.
If you were able to fairly seamlessly, especially if they were built into glasses that aren't as conspicuous and could be look more like natural glasses that people would wear, but maybe provide that little prompt of here is what your to-do list is today. Here's what we're trying to do, or this is maybe a little further out, but something I would love to do because I go to all these conferences of that person standing in front of you, the last time you met them was at whatever conference.
Now that would be cool.
Now there's certainly privacy concerns, and that's one of the challenges there of knowing and of who's in the room with you and everything. But that little extra, especially when you talk to someone who has dementia, if it could prime them of
first name,
that is so and so, here's their connection to you, just those little basic things, I could see some really exciting augmented reality. I actually get really excited about.
Yeah, I do as well. What are your thoughts on we're seeing a bigger trend with virtual reality, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the residents and seniors that are unable to leave their home, you're seeing more companies that want to build this VR system that they can wear that can enable them to have, let's say, see Paris for the first time or see Rome or travel the world basically from the comfort of their own home. What are your thoughts on some of that, VR technology or augmented reality, depending on how you want to kind of classify the two?
Yeah, I think there's some interesting opportunities there with virtual reality. I mean, I know a number of people who just have gone on like Google Maps or Google Earth to look at, that's my old neighborhood and what it looks like. So, you take that kind of the next step, and if you're able to kind of immerse yourself in those sorts of communities, it's an interesting opportunity. It's also an interesting opportunity to see things that you might not see otherwise.
Right.
And we've seen some of these telepresence robotics that will go around museums, and people can essentially tour a museum even if they can't get there personally. So it does open the door. Now, there are certainly challenges with some of the big headsets, especially, we've talked to some organizations where they are working with people with dementia, and they say, we're going to throw this large headset on someone, and you really have to think through, how are you deploying that technology? How are you making sure someone is comfortable with those sorts of technologies? So the opportunity is there, but there's still some work, I'd say, to be done.
Yeah, no, that's exciting, because my big one, we touched on this earlier, is that isolation. You keep hearing it more and more about seniors, whether they're living in a facility or they're living at home by themselves. It's this self-isolation. They don't know how to either get out of their house, or their family lives out of state. That, is that an issue that you think technology can help tackle?
Oh, I absolutely think technology can help tackle that. Now, what the right solution is, there's degrees to how it can address social isolation. I mean, getting everyone connected on a social media app, that's a level of connection, but it's not necessarily taking everyone as far as I think there's opportunities. And that's, we look at kind of the spectrum. So, there's those basic levels of connection. One of the things we've actually funded some projects around are virtual senior centers. So for people, in fact, we did one with a group in New York called Self-Help Community Services. They worked with low-income homebound seniors. So essentially people who could not get out of their apartments. But what they created was, quite frankly, it wasn't the highest tech. It was an all-in-one touchscreen computer.
That's still cool,
that they set up. Essentially, it had classes that they offered throughout the day using essentially their version of Skype or Google Hangouts.
Okay.
And you would get all these people engaged, and it was amazing to see actually health outcomes that came out of this from someone who was just sitting in their apartment, socially isolated, not engaged at all, except when maybe Meals on Wheels stopped by, to suddenly getting dressed up so they can get on camera and do a singing class with
so
their
you
friends.
almost saw behavioral change there.
So we saw behavioral change, and we're now working with another organization. They call themselves the Virtual Senior Academy, based out of the Jewish Healthcare Foundation in Pittsburgh, and they're kind of trying to take that to the next scale. So there's some interesting opportunities there to address social isolation, and then when you take it into more communities, there's technologies like It's Never Too Late, and others like those that have been doing it more in a group setting. Getting people around and participating. So I do see some interesting opportunities here.
Do you think, what are your thoughts on kind of this telehealth or telemedicine, and how do you think that can help with some of our seniors that are almost a little hesitant to go to the doctors at times?
Yeah, I think it certainly can address some of that hesitancy. Part of the other issue you run into is, many of the older adults in this country are aging in rural communities.
Correct.
And so they may not have the doctor's appointment that is an easy public transportation trip right down the road, or if they're required, or if they're working with kind of the paratransit or something, there's various challenges with the windows and everything for those. So, otherwise they're basically requiring their friends or family to,
be involved,
be able to take them to appointments and other activities like that. So I do think that there's some great opportunities with telehealth. Now, the issue in the real rural communities, how do we address the needs for people where broadband and cell coverage may be still weak? It's getting better every day, but there are still challenges there. So that's something that needs to be addressed, but there's some great opportunities to get people tied in, and we can also get people to the expertise they need. So, say even someone who lives, here in Denver, if they have a specialist they need who maybe is in Miami, rather than having to fly to Miami, if they're able to meet with a general practitioner here who can then tie them into that specialist, I see some real interesting opportunities.
That's very cool.
Thanks for listening. The Mavericks want to hear from you. Visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Mavericks of Senior Living or mavericksofseniorliving.com and leave us your comments, questions, and ideas for future podcasts.